In a second-hand set of dimensions, on an astral plane that was never meant to fly, through wavering star mists, see the grey Satuin. Drifting onwards through space, atop the shell of the world's turtle, are 4 giant elephants, upon whose broad shoulders rests the Discworld. Welcome to Dining Table Discworld. We're reading through the Discworld novels and discussing them at our dining table. Be aware there will be spoilers for the current book and others in the series.
Hello! Welcome to Dining Table Discworld. I'm Dave.
I'm Kathy.
And today we are celebrating the halfway point, technically, in the Discworld series. We're kind of not counting the fact that there's 41 books, because...
40 divides into 4, so much better.
Yeah, and Kathy hasn't read Shepherd's Crown, so we're not counting that one. That's going to be a special one.
The point is, it's Quadrant 2 halfway through.
Exactly. We are here talking about, well, the last 10 books, 9 books, 10 books we've read.
10.
10.
40 divided by 4 is 10. I would have thought you should have got that. You've done more maths education than I have.
I never said I was really good at it, though, so... Anyway... So, yes, we are looking back at the last 10, the last quadrant, as well as just having a brief overview of the last half of the Discworld series.
The first half of the Discworld series.
The last half we've done. I'm time and space, wibbly wobbly. Just to remind you of the books that we're going to be talking about. In the last 10 we've done was Reaper Man, Riches Abroad, Small Gods, Lords and Ladies, Men-at-Arms, Soul Music, Interesting Times, Maskerade, Feet of Clay, and Hogfather. So that is the second quadrant.
Yes, that's Quadrant 2. So in that we have 3 witch books, 2 watch books, 3 death books, 1 Rincewind book, and a standalone.
Yes. I
guess it shows, because you think Quadrant 1 had a lot of Rincewind ones?
Yes. We did not enjoy that.
Well, I think we enjoyed all those Rincewind ones more than we enjoyed the one Rincewind one that's here.
Fair point, actually, yes. No, valid point.
Yeah,
yes.
Those were all right.
Yes, true.
By comparison. But I think it's interesting that there's more serious stuff, like those 3 series are becoming more of a, thing. They've got more things to them. Do we want to go through any favourites or surprises or disappointments from those books?
Okay, so... Go for it. What was your favourite?
I thought by mentioning it, I was asking you.
And I turn it around on you.
I wrote the notes. So my favourite... Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it? There's a lot I liked.
Do you want me to... I mean, is it all of the Witches' Wands and Men-at-Arms?
No.
Okay. All of the Witches... The Lords and Ladies and Witches Abroad and Men-at-Arms?
No.
Okay, well, I don't obviously know you as well as I thought.
I mean, I do like all the Witches ones. I'd say Lords and Ladies is my favourite of the Witches. The Watch one is tricky because it's like Men of Arms and Feet of Clay.
Yes, true. Feet of Clay.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, you didn't mention Feet of Clay.
No, I don't know why. It's further down the list. I obviously forgot it.
Men of Arms was the first Watch book I read, and I did. I did like it a lot. But
you did imprint on it like a duckling.
Maybe a bit, but I think I like Feet of Clay even more.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And the Witches stuff, I do like them all. But I think Maskerade's one I read least. Again, we'll get to our Maskerade.
Apology.
It's not quite an apology. More like that we have learned.
Yes, yeah, that's fair enough.
We've become educated. Yeah, so I think Lords and Ladies is my favourite Witches for definite. And yeah, I can't. It's a bit tricky to decide between Men at Arms and Feet of Clay. Maybe I think Feet of Clay edges it out. And obviously Hogfather was really good. But there you go, those are the ones I liked. And I have to pick a favourite. It's just like a group of favourites. Surprises. I mean, Small Gods and Interesting Times were the ones that I didn't remember particularly well at all. I guess slightly Maskerade from having read them before, because I think they're all ones I've only read once. I was surprised how much Interesting Times was not. I think we're going to disappointments. We're not super Rincewind, fans, but I can see why people like him. I can see the thing of the character. I think some of the books don't feel as great, but yeah, as we went into Interesting Times was I can't recommend that to anyone because ugh.
Yeah.
So there's that. I wasn't expecting ugh. So that was, yes, a disappointment and a surprise. But otherwise surprises. I suppose Small Gods a little bit because it's one that weirdly, it's the kind of thing you think I would absolutely loved as a teen. Like, but I think it almost wasn't mythological enough. Like the kind of pseudo-Greece Thebe.
Yes.
There's only a little bit about their gods, and that's a
Yeah.
tiny bit, which was the thing I was interested in as a teen. The stuff about the philosophy and stuff I didn't get into, well, I say got into, I mean, I did an ancient history degree later, and they did mention philosophy stuff, but some of the philosophy stuff wasn't my favourite bit. I kind of preferred some other bits.
Yeah.
You know, although it means I've got the good context for it now than I had before. Not that you, anyway, need to have done an ancient history degree to read small gods, but having done one was like, oh yeah, this. I think with that, it's also the kind of book that people always say, oh yeah, this was a really foundational one for me. Oh, this was fun. So I was quite interested to see how that would be, because I just didn't remember any of that. All I remember was there was the guy, and he had a really good memory, and the desert. And honestly, as I was reading it, I kept thinking there'd be more about the bits he can't remember, what happened to his parents or any of that, and that wasn't part of it at all. And then I was also kind of surprised when I realised, like, there are no female characters in this. Although, in fact, we didn't mention the goddess of the sea, who does appear, but there's also a goddess. So is that a woman? Yeah. And, like, the goddess of wisdom with the penguin is mentioned. And I think maybe briefly appears but says nothing. But, yeah, I still think the thing stands. And what's been interesting, a surprise for other people, is when I've mentioned that to people who say how much I love small gods, I'm like, oh, yeah, I absolutely see where you're coming from that. But, like, there's no women in it. And they'll be like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. And I'm like, yeah, which is weird for Pratchett.
Yeah.
But actually, and again, this is a surprise, not quite disappointing, but if you look at the series, they are, obviously got the witches, which is so feminine.
Yeah.
That a lot of the others, I think it kind of covers the fact that a lot of them are quite masculine, but saying that, like, the Watch books do specifically improve. Susan being in Death books improves that. I say, okay, it's not necessarily just an improvement to have more women in something, because it depends how you do it. You know, like, if there's lots of women but they're done badly, that's also bad. But we know Pratchett does do women well. So that's good. So, you know, the more he's doing women, the more good and interesting and different types of women. And again, it's not like, you know, there's some writers who, like, all the women will be, like, one of, like, 3 types of people. Like, oh, it's this lady from all the other books. But that's not what Pratchett does. He does, you know, he's very good with characters, he's very good with people, and he's good at writing women. But yeah, I think there are some of the books where you're like, oh, there is kind of like the one lady.
Yeah.
But I think he's getting away from that a bit. But looking ahead, I think there are some other books where it's a bit like, there is mostly one lady, but at least she's well done. Yeah. So there's not that, like, you know, because certainly for a bit, Angu is like the main girl, and that's kind of informs how she relates to Cheery and Clay. But the fact that he wrote Cheery, that's cool. So, yes. Has that answered the question that I asked you and then you turned around on me? And now I will turn back to you.
I believe so. Right, my favourite. Well, I mean, Reaper Man is and still is one of my favourite, and Hoffa. So kind of the you know, start and the end. Both
like
of them bookended. I mean, I love Hogfather. I read it quite often. Especially around Christmas time.
Not in a very hot
June.
Not
hot in June, no. Not
July.
Generally. Doesn't quite have the same ambience I'm looking for. They're still great. But I love Feet of Clay, you know, Men at Arms. I like the kind of ensemble watch stuff. Mm-hmm. And soul music's always great. You know, the music stuff is always fun to read through and go, oh, I actually get, you know, as you learn more about music, my musical sort of knowledge has broadened over the years.
Well, I mean, you said it's interesting because obviously that was written in 1994. There we go. You've got the list of dates. You say music knowledge has broadened, and mine too, I guess, since I read it, but there's also extent to which obviously that's getting older and older as time goes past. Yes. So anyone who was born, you know, anytime from 92 onwards will have no memory of that time. I mean, I don't really remember music at that time particularly, and not that kind of music.
No, I suppose it.
So it's more kind of learning about stuff that went before a little bit, which, I mean, certainly now rock can be something of a backward-looking genre of music, but at least we can sort of remember roughly when that was. Whereas actually, I think, you know, younger people coming to it, it's going to be a bit like, oh, this is about a load of, like, retro music.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because, I mean, you know, we enjoy rock music and listen to a lot of classic rock, but, you know, over the years, we've also listened to things where people are talking about the influences and then looking back at what, you know, has influenced them, which is obviously a lot of stuff before them. So that's it. That's that help. But yes, you're right. You know, more modern audience or a younger audience is going to, you know,
it's going to be something where they can, but
it's going to depend on their grounding in music. If they've had
their dad's got to listen to a lot of stuff, then yes. Or if they're interested in going out and find it. But that's the other thing. The thing we have now, which we didn't have back then, or even when we were reading it, is you can just be like, oh, what's this old thing? And go look it up.
Yes.
Rather than watching something and being like, I think I saw something on BBC Two at like 11 p.m, but I can't find the listing for it, and it seemed like a fever dream, and there's no one to ask what it was. Until then somebody's like, here it is, it's on YouTube now, and you're like, oh, okay, that was a real thing.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I suppose surprises. Surprising how much some of it I've forgotten. Lords and Ladies, I hadn't remembered a lot of that one.
Oh, that's one I reread quite a bit.
Yeah,
perhaps unsurprisingly.
I don't think I reread it, and which was it's a pleasant surprise. It was it's a great book, so that wasn't a so much of a hardship. Possibly the fact that I didn't vibe with Small Gods as much as I thought I might have done on a reread.
Yeah,
that one, I wouldn't say it fell flat, but I don't.
I think your problem with that was maybe the thing that we slightly unknowingly knew was our problem with Maskerade, which we will come to. I feel like we're just building this up now.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I almost wonder, because how old would you have been roughly when you read Small Gods?
Came out in 92. I mean, I read it not long after, so mid-teens.
Okay. Well, I mean, I probably would have been like late teens, and it would have been later anyway. Yeah. And it didn't vibe with me at the time, but I can see what it might have done, and similar with you. But I now almost feel like maybe, because a lot of people found it very foundational, I think if it's stuck in your head at that point, because all the stuff we mentioned, the militant decency, the various ways of how to be, kind of the way that organised religion, the problems with that, because I think I saw somebody say once, it's a book that's both a critique of and defence of organised religion, and that is true. So it's quite... And I think it doesn't lodge in your brain at super formative time, because right now you're you know what you believe or what you don't believe, largely, and you're probably setting your way that you're not looking for something to kind of not say that nothing could, but that's not a thing you're looking for, and you sort of know where you are with things. And I feel like if I think I can't remember what point I read it.
No, it's fine.
Because I mean I did have.
We are old, and many things have happened since then, including a global pandemic.
That's not even that long ago.
Yeah, it's a good excuse, though.
By comparison, like the millennium. I think I read all of these after the millennium. Yeah, probably. The thing with Small Gods is that it didn't strike us. I think such formative time, although other stuff would have done. Because there's stuff I've read, other things I've read, where I've read this and been like, if I read this as a child, I would have been like, oh yeah, this. Yeah. But when you read it as an adult, you're like, I'm kind of too late to this now.
Yeah.
A Wrinkle in Time is one. Right, The Dark is Rising, again, I read that after seeing the film, which did inspire me to read the book, and I kind of liked the book, but I think it would have just struck me more. And I feel like it perhaps didn't hit us at the right time.
No, you're right. And
yeah, but I can see why it's so foundational to people.
Yeah, it's just I think it just surprised me that it didn't, and obviously biggest disappointment, Interesting Times. Sorry, I think I don't
think we have to apologise too much for a book where we had to put like a rape joke warning at the beginning, and then I had to have a whole thing about the problem of rape jokes.
Yeah. That we also had to
That's already on the back foot, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we also had to record that episode twice. So
did we?
Yes, we did. See, we blocked that out, but we had to record that episode twice due to a technical glitch. So that book is already. Yeah. So I think I'm.
I say checking the sound wave that is still recording.
I think I think it's a disappointment because we know Terry Pratchett can do better. Yes. It just felt like, and I know
I think we said many a 90s fantasy author have been like, yes, okay, this is what they do. I mean, I was having a chat with a friend the other day about there being some stuff and just being, well, okay, if you were reading fantasy from the 90s, you were just a bit like, oh, well, this is just a thing that happens in books. And if you're a teenager, you're like, oh, this is because these books are for grown-ups, and that's why this sort of stuff is here. And then you're a bit like, oh no, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, but no, it's. But
we do expect better practice.
Given the the later stuff, even the earlier stuff had that it just wasn't. It's like
the third book of his whole series was a very unexpected dive into completely different characters, which include two female characters that are the type that don't get sexualized.
It's just. I think it's just. The rock bottom, and
well, hopefully.
Well, I think it is. I mean, looking briefly scanning ahead,
So do you want to go on to continuity stuff? Obviously now, and I think we sort of said that Moving Pictures, which I think was the last one of the previous thing, seemed to be kind of the point where it's like, actually, he's starting to reward. You've read these before. He's putting in a load of in-jokes. Yes. The continuity is very much there. Anything in Ankh-Morpork, even if it's not about them, we'll probably have a watchman or a beggar or somebody turn up. And you're like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
So we're at the, it's that guy sort of thing.
Very much.
Small Gods is the only one that's standalone. It's also the only one that I think could feasibly, because we had quite a discussion about this with some of the earlier stuff in Quadrant 1, could feasibly be set at a different time, because we know perfectly well that the course of the book, spoilers here, there is a spoiler warning at the start, in the intro, does encompass 100 years.
Yes.
So we know there's 100 years in there, and so that could be 100 years or more before the main action.
I mean, I think
it's also not clear what it is in regards to pyramids, because the Jelly Baby's never mentioned, but but pyramids could be 2 centuries old.
I think the thing is, I mean, obviously,
the deserty standalone.
In Men at Arms and Feet of Clay, we get introduced to more Omnians. So obviously,
yes. Well, we know they've gone kind of Jehovah's Witness / Mormon type of deal.
Very, very.
Not to pick on any particular sects, but equally that's clearly what he's riffing on.
Yeah, that's where he's going.
That's clearly the riff.
Yeah, and so it's obviously moved to that, away from the bizarre.
The Inquisition. Exquisition.
The type of.
Yeah.
So yes, it's obviously had a chance to move to that,
and that's clearly what Brother did.
Yes,
and that's the kind of thing that probably take a while.
So yes,
100 years.
I mean, obviously, you still got it, in Small Gods, the joke of, and in most of them, jokes of Dibbler, cut my own throat, Dibbler.
But he just appears throughout,
but he could,
places.
Yeah. But he could just be a constant of the universe, and that's, it doesn't really matter.
Certainly of the disc, it would seem.
Yes. So in continuity-wise, I feel, obviously, Men at Arms and Feet of Clay really lay on the continuity that was built in the first quadrant.
Yeah.
Those are very strongly built.
Maskerade has it as well.
Maskerade.
Hogfather's quite a bit. I think anything that's fairly angle focused.
But the watch, you see the watch grow from just Vimes and Nobby and Colon.
The watch is definitely, and it's very grounded in place. The Witches mostly is. I mean, you think about it. I mean, Lords and Ladies is one of the few that actually has a previously on section, because it happens right after the trip they take in Witches Abroad. So there's only Small Gods in between. But some of the Witches stuff, I guess, I mean, the timey stuff seemed to happen at the beginning, but, that's a bit... But it's fairly clear where everyone is, and there is progression of the characters in that, but obviously it's in Lanka, which is a little bit divorced from everywhere else. The death stuff's interesting, because the introduction season means there is a timeline, and because we know how old her parents were, and we know how old she is at various points. Well, we don't. Well, because in Hogfather, the problem is because she says 2 years being normal. It's like, doesn't mean she's like 18, 19, but she says 2 years being normal. We don't know what the rest of those years were, because the death stuff, a certain amount of it takes place outside of time.
Yeah, I think that's...
So that's,
I think the death...
But there's still, again, an internal continuity to it.
Yes, obviously there's part of their history there that you don't get the picture of, but it's still building on the previous books too.
And Pratchett has obviously decided to do this in continuity. I mean, Small Gods could be a bit out of time, like the time Pyramids could be, but most of the key sub-series as he set up, he's just going, well, that's happened, now we're going on to this. He's not doing a Bernard Cornwall and trying to fill in all the bits of the Napoleonic War that Sharp was in.
No.
He's not doing Lewis McMaster Bujold, where she's like, well, the family saga in space that I'm doing, well, it's not quite a family saga, but, in space that I'm doing starts with, the story of the mum and the story of the son, and then, I don't even know what the publication order of that is, because I only read it in the recommended reading order. But again, that was one where things jumped about a bit. So he's clearly right, this is going to be, largely linear.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair enough. And obviously later he kind of riffs on the fact that the continuity doesn't quite match up with timelines, as people, the fandom sit there and try and work it out, which I think is a fun little... I enjoy
the fandom got big and we're paying attention.
Yeah,
so we'll get to that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's obviously he intended it to be roughly linear, with obviously these exceptions. But
well, you say these exceptions. I think when Pyramids was done, it didn't really matter when it was.
No.
Same as
at the start. The start. It was he was just
Well, at the start he was trying out different things. That's fair enough. It doesn't all line up. That's
but cool. Now in the second quadrant, it's like this is a much more linear thing. It allows storytelling to build on. You don't have to. You can skip the character introduction. You can skip some of the You can concentrate on building other characters because you already know. So
and you've got this great background cast, like I say.
And so in Maskerade, you don't need to build up Granny and Nanny because you already know them from the previous books.
But you can just come straight into it because their dynamics so much there.
But you can also, then you can concentrate on building Perdita up as and Agnes, yes.
Well, there's also, and again, because it means he can build on the jokes he's done before. Because the thing that I noticed in I think this quadrant is a lot of the references are now very Discworld. Like it's referring back to itself because there's enough of a volume of work there. Because in the first quadrant, and I think it still happens a bit in this, like if you get a footnote or like a side thing that would say, and I can't even remember what it was that was the line, but there was something where it said, this is to this as a puppet show is to the RSC. No. And it's like, well, yes, I get what that is, but that is there were a lot more round world references. You know, there'd be stuff like, oh, if he had like an attack helicopter or something. I don't think he said that, but you know, he'd refer to stuff by round world references, which again, some of which I think were dating slightly.
Just a little.
Not all of them. No, we still have both puppet shows and the RSC.
Yes,
at least
and
for now.
Attack helicopters.
I don't even know if that was one.
No,
I think at some point he mentioned some sort of war machine thing. Yeah. So, but he's doing less of that now because there's more of the stuff to build in. Yeah. So rather than it being this thing is like this thing from Round World, it's a bit like this Discworld thing is like another Discworld thing you may be familiar with. But if you're not, he's probably conveyed it enough that you kind of understand both things.
And of course, the ability to throw in the odd, extra character. I think, it worked well in Hogfather because you could. The Death books are obviously you've got Death and you've got Susan, but you don't. It can.
That had quite a bit of wizards in.
Yeah, but you also you had the Canteen Crew. And
the point is you could just do a lot of seasonal vignettes.
Yeah, and that
as opposed to end of life vignettes, which is obviously the normal thing for Death.
But and that meant it's nice to see them, and they also change a little bit, but they're also building those characters, and that's really nice to see.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you want to say about kind of Quadrant 2?
I suppose we really better get to Maskerade at this point, hadn't we?
Yeah. So the thing with Maskerade, and somebody on BlueSky did point this out, which is absolutely fair dues, is that when we were discussing it, we only kind of knew about Phantom of the Opera from pop culture. Neither of us have seen... I think I saw like the end of like the movie on Film 4 before another movie I wanted to see, but that was just
not helpful then, though, is it?
Not enough. Well, I mean, obviously it was that. There's like a ghost in the opera house.
That's more than I've seen.
Clearly that.
I got that's.
But I think we did, and I think after we recorded, because you said, "Oh, it's not riffing or railing."
Yeah.
We now realise it absolutely is riffing. It's entirely riffing on opera and specifically Phantom of the Opera. Yes, because somebody said to us, "It's like, have you guys not mentioned this because it's so obvious, or do you really not know about opera?" And we're like, "No, it's because we're ignorant. It's our ignorance. We were very ignorant people.
We're not
in regards to like opera."
I mean, let's be fair though. We were still able to enjoy the book even if we were not.
Which was my point to you about Small God. Yeah.
In the case of Small God, I could kind of see where I was missing the extra stuff. Where in Maskerade, I didn't feel like I was missing it.
I think we knew it was about something we didn't know much about, but we were still able to enjoy it.
It was just,
but it was enjoyable for its own thing. And I think in Maskerade, the various bits were like, oh, this is clearly a reference to something.
Yeah.
But I don't think we realised how much it was references that. Since we did that, our friend Pete very kindly gave us a little booklet which has the words for the Phantom of the Opera, which, I mean, I know that's not how you're supposed to consume it, but it's have quicker. Limited time. And reading that, I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh no, this absolutely is about this, which makes it. And obviously I knew it was about that, but I didn't know enough about to perhaps get it. The other thing is also, which I've kind of forgotten if I really knew, is that obviously Michael Crawford, who was the original guy who played the Phantom of the Opera when it first ran, is the same guy who played Frank Spencer in Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, which I'm more familiar with that. Specifically, in that I remember being in the end of primary school and our head teacher making a lot of references to it, and us all looking at him slightly blankly, and then getting one kid to like wear a beret and say a load of stuff, and it's like, this is clearly to entertain the parents because we don't know what's happening. But then I think later I saw it on repeats on like ITV or later like Gold or something. So it's one of those things I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's this thing. And I think I'd sort of forgotten if I even really put it together that it's the same dude, because of course the whole thing in the book is that the character of Walter is a guy with a funny hat, which clearly now I think about it's a beret, and he has a funny walk, and clearly he's like a slightly different version of Frank Spencer.
Yeah.
And so that's the clue.
Yes.
Which we entirely missed. And it wasn't until later I heard people talking about it. I was like, oh, but I don't think we knew how ignorant we were. But now we do.
Yeah.
And we've learned and we've educated ourselves.
Yes.
So yes. But your point that he's not riffing or railing, it's just a good story. No, he's absolutely riffing.
Yeah. That's
we just didn't understand enough to appreciate the riffs.
But thank you for everyone who educated us on that. We are happy to hear other people's opinions. Yes, this is the great thing. There is such a broad depth to the books in some respects that you can go in and not really get everything, but still enjoy the fact that these are excellent characters. The story's good. And as I say, I think you can still get the feeling of it, because I think if you've seen any sort of idea about theatre and opera, you kind of would have still got most of the...
As I recall, when we recorded that, I had not long visited done a backstage tour of a local theatre, although not opera house. And I think I remember saying, it's like, where is the stage management here? Because they explained to me this is very important, and there was basically none.
No.
But I think that's also the thing in... Well, that didn't seem to be the thing in Phantom. No one was mentioning stage hands very much, or stage manager, and they didn't have all those electric lights, because it was candle time.
Yes,
they were very clear. There were a lot of candles. That was very much in the stage direction. Yes. There are a lot. It's like there are a lot of candles. It's like, but also water. Anyway, yes, that's our Maskerade bit. So yes, shall we go to the kind of slightly broader halfway through?
Yeah.
So there are the different sub-series, and then there's also, we've kind of come up with this riffing and railing dichotomy.
Yes.
So riffing is when this is pastiche or something, which is obviously the first one, very much a set of pastiches. Yeah. But then it kind of turns into...
soul music, moving pictures, good examples of that.
Maskerade, as we now know.
Yes.
And most of them have a little bit of riffing on something, and we know there'll be stuff later that's riffing as well, more specifically. But then there's also railing, and that's the thing where it's a bit like, Pratchett is clearly super mad about this, and he's written a whole book about how what. Small Gods has that. Lords and Ladies, I feel, is kind of a bit of both, because it's kind of riffing on... It's not quite as Shakespearean as Weird Sisters was, so Weird Sisters was obviously very much riffing on both Hamlet and Macbeth.
Yeah.
Lords and Ladies is more Midsummer Night's Dream, and also riffing, I guess, on Morris dancing.
Yeah.
But it's very much, I think, railing against Tolkien's elves and being like, no, folklorically that doesn't make sense. They're not a load of fancy, magic Nordic folk. No. They're like the creepy things you have to peacefully put milk out.
Yeah. I think a lot of the watch books tend to be railing against something.
All sorts of civic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and
certainly the monarchy.
Yeah, and sometimes not even the whole book on one thing, but with Cheery, I think it's there's a bit of I
think Cheery initially is kind of riffing on some gender stuff. I think it gets the Tolkien dwarves is like, the wives have beards too, and it's like, so effectively from outside of dwarfdom, it's like one gender. Because I think it's kind of initially a bit of a riff or rail on sexism, but then obviously as society's understanding of gender has progressed, Cheery still works very well as a character in more like modern understanding of gender.
It's just you get little bits of it rather than the whole book necessarily being a campaign for...
But it's like I said in there, you've also got stuff about people having to live and work together but having all these prejudices. So, Angua is now like to Cheery, but Cheery is unknowingly and initially prejudiced against Angua, who therefore has to closet herself in front of Cheery. Angua tells Carrot off for being prejudiced against Cheery, but Cheery's grown up in the same context as Carrot's, that's why it's shocking. Angua's prejudiced against golems, but Carrot is their ally right away. Yeah. And like I say, none of that is the point of the book. None of it's like, this is how you do allyship, this is how you oppress people. It's just, here are people with their own baggage all kind of together, and it's just part of the story. Yeah. So that's some of the railing isn't really railing. I mean, the next one is Jingo. So railing there, for sure. Quite often a lot of the stuff that Vimes thinks about coppers and about bad coppers and, about the role of the police is certainly in there. So, we've got that riffing and railing dichotomy. Because Pyramids is very much riffing. Yeah. But Small Gods is railing. Yeah. Some aren't so much...
some nothing for some of them don't fall into exact
exactly. But it's definitely a strong theme that's there throughout. Yeah. I mean, Witches Abroad is quite riffing, but on quite a lot of things. So Do we want to kind of talk through the sub-series a bit?
Yeah, we can do, yeah. So,
well, the Deaf series, I think it's kind of fun that I've actually managed to couch all of them in some sort of workplace HR type job.
It does seem like that.
But Deaf takes an apprentice and then has a break to discover some work-life balance. Reaper Man. Deaf is unfairly dismissed and has to go to an employment tribunal at the end of the universe.
I mean, there are some other stuff in between, but yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm not saying that's all of it, but it's there. Soul music. Deaf kind of has to have compassionate leave, but then, unfortunately, a family member is pulled into cover with no training. And Hogfather is Deaf doing supply cover for another anthropomorphic personification. I don't know if I'm going to keep this going, but I'm kind of impressed by us, like, because it's mostly just the employment tribunal at the end of the universe, and I think we'd said in Mort, oh, well, having an apprentice, that does improve work-life balance. Yeah, I can see it. But yeah, there just keeps being something where I can do that. So it's not really like that. It's just a funny way.
It is a funny way of looking at it.
I'm not quite sure I'll be able to do it for the next one, but I'll think of that later.
And yes, those you can be thought of in those terms, but there's more to them than that.
The Watch, as we've discussed, it's the growth and modernisation of the Watch.
And Vimes's rise further into peerage.
Exactly, yes. But Vimes's ever more uncomfortable rise into the upper echelons and classes that he does not like. And also the Royal Trilogy.
Yes.
Because we've only had 3 so far, and they were all the Royal Trilogy.
Pretty much, yes.
But I think we're done with that now.
I think we're definitely done with the monarchy, given that we've given Jingo. Yeah, so we've had that has been a running theme throughout the last, and it does,
it's probably the matter of Ankh-Morpork. What of the ancient kings? And it's like, well, basically not much, but like people still a bit going on about it.
Yeah. Although speaking of being Royal Trilogy, I saw someone post that Carrot is basically Prince Charming. He's so
sorry, my version of Prince Charming is very cynical. Like, I don't think of the Fables version where he's like
fair enough, yeah.
a massive jerk.
I think we're talking about kind of like a Disney.
You mean the actual traditional Prince Charming and not
everyone loves him.
Very cynical version.
He's because he's heir to the throne. Everyone loves him.
I mean, I kind of like it doesn't fully work, but the trans Carrot.
I mean, that's interesting.
Because the point is, Carrot's the tallest dwarf on the disc because he was adopted from dwarves. But he doesn't have a beard, and all dwarves have beard. Now, obviously, he's physically different from, his adoptive family, because he's human. But humans do grow facial hair, and no one will have taught him to shave, because I can't imagine dwarves have shaving equipment.
No, I mean...
he turns up for... Or is it just that we never see pre-watch Carrot, and he did have a beard, but because the regulation said you had to be clean-shaven, that's just what he always does? It's hard to tell, but I can see the point, except... I mean, the problem is they always describe Carrot as being big in a very masculine sort of way, so I feel like anything else probably would have been a bit too noticeable, but, it's a theory.
I mean, they obviously did have connected...
And again, because dwarves only have one gender. Yeah,
but they also have...
Everyone would be he.
Yeah, but they also had... They where they lived, they did know humans. They did see humans.
Yeah.
And
they... Because they obviously know Magrat.
Yeah, so it's a
fun thing. But you just sort of think, wait, he wouldn't have learned to shave. No, but then probably that old guy showed him, and if it said in the regs, you must be clean shaven.
I think it's a hole, but I think it's one that could
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I mean, just.
But once you're among humans, it's probably a bit clearer. Yeah, so that's the Watch. So the witch stuff I feel is a little bit. It's less of a trilogy or. I mean, there is a progression in there, but it's sort of like you've got the establishment, which are kind of equal rights, but that's sort of a bit of a proto version. But then you've got Weird Sisters kind of establishes things, but then you sort of see there's increasingly a look for the new generation. And there's also the Weatherwax ending, which every time I read one, I'm like, oh, is this not the one where this happens? It's like, oh, no, that's a different Weatherwax ending. But basically what happens is that Granny goes up against somebody who seems like they probably could beat her or match her. And it's like, will she win? And obviously she will. But how will she win? Probably doing something unprecedented. And then increasingly, there's going to be a point where like, is she dead? And that's the Weatherwax ending. And we've had... three. Yes, and there is at least one more coming.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got Maskerade, which I'd sort of... Again, maybe that was why that didn't fit my head so well. Is that's more of a nanny... I mean, obviously Granny's in it, but it feels more Nanny Og, and there isn't the need for a Weatherwax ending. It's a bit different.
It's a very... the power level's quite different. It's not...
Yeah, and Actually, the point in that, which I don't think we discussed a lot in that episode as well, is that Granny's getting so powerful that she's getting bored, and Nanny is keeping an eye on her. Because she literally arm wrestles Death at one point.
Yes,
I think Death kind of lets her off because people don't normally do that, and it was novel. Yeah. But Nanny's a bit like, I have to get her out of Lanka and I have to get her away, and she's going to start cackling.
Yeah.
So she's gotten too powerful. I mean, it kind of shows, she got a bit too powerful, so now we have to give her some more mundane, humdrum, but different to what she used to do with problems. So everything became so rote.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that, yes, I mean, we do. I suppose it's the problem of where do you take a already powerful character, because she was already in Weird Sisters stated as being one of the most powerful witches. How do you take that character?
And then she beat family, and then she beat elves.
So she gets more and more powerful. And so what do you do to? Well,
I'm not sure that she gets more and more power, but she has more and more opportunities to test that power.
Yeah. But and it's the old Superman conundrum. How do you show? How do you show that?
It's the same thing. You just have a really strong moral core that stops you from just doing the thing, and then it's the same as Superman.
It's kind of
that's the thing. I hadn't considered I would make that comparison today, but there we are.
But it is. Superman is also ridiculously powerful. And to show the.
But I think the point
is, if you to keep throwing tougher and more badass and more powerful foes against them.
Well, we have to have more people blasting more things at more enemies that are more powerful, so there's more blasting, and then it's just a light show of CGI than Marvel.
Or even the comics, but the point is
You're the one that reads those.
It doesn't make for an interesting story, and to keep having Granny going up against more powerful. As you say, she arm wrestles Death. How much more, So
I think kind of lets her.
Yeah, but I think that the idea of kind of taking her out of her, and making her have to deal with things in a different way.
Yes,
is going to be the way to make it interesting.
It's not depowder, but it's taking her out of her comfort zone, taking somewhere. Although again, I don't think Annie realised that. How familiar she already was with that before.
Yes.
And then she was really shocked, like, wait, what? You know Mrs. Palm of the Seamstress Guild, and you understand what that is? Which kind of shows that maybe there's like a city Esme and and like a Lanka Granny.
Yeah. But
the point, it kind of creates a different set of things for us to deal with. Yes. It's like, well, this isn't about using headology or magic to go against magical enemy. It's more about dealing with a group of people in a situation.
But also shifting the kind of narrative to looking at the future of witches, and that gives you an interesting look, as you have the same problem with a lot of groups in Roundworld. The kind of it's an aging population within, and how do you get more, how does that look to the outside?
Legacy stuff.
How do you bring more people into that, and...
I mean, part of the issue is that our generation is given very little time for that sort of stuff, really, compared to previous generations and the expectation. Although there was a very interesting point that Farrah Mendelssohn made on the 8 Days of Darwin Jones podcast, just because I've been listening to that quite a bit recently, where she was saying something about, it's only really a few generations back, you would do what your parents did. Your job would be that. So there wasn't any expectation you'd get a lot of fulfillment stuff from your job. She said that's maybe why hobbies were so important, because that's where you expect to get your fulfillment. Whereas now you're sort of expecting, you can go out and you can choose your job. And obviously that's not really true for everyone. Lots of people have to do jobs that aren't great and you're not necessarily going to be enthusiastic about. But I think almost the fact that we're supposed to feel more fulfilled by work is sort of allowed, I think, and there's a lot of factors to it, also loss of third space, the fact we're more isolated and atomised, the kind of digital, and also prior to that TV, discouraging social gathering, but there's been more and more discouraging social gathering. I actually am going to stop because I don't want to go into a rant about modern Britain or the state of the world right now, but there's an element of that. Yes, that can be in the next podcast. The state of modern Britain could be the next podcast.
Come from the Discworld discussion, have there's a discussion of the state of modern Britain instead, Anyway,
it's coming up. So the next one's Rincewind / Wizards, which isn't completely a sub-series because they only actually come together in interesting times.
I think
the wizard faculty are kind of like a minor in a load of other ones.
Yeah.
And Rincewind isn't with them until interesting times. So you've got Rincewind comes as its own thing.
But even then he's only briefly with them, and then he gets shot to...
Oh yeah, but they are in it, and there's then usual nonsense.
But it's later. But I think it's later on. It's Lost Continent where there are
Last Continent.
Similar thing.
It's one battle different.
Yeah, exactly. where there are a lot that it's actually kind of them.
Yeah, I don't remember that one terribly well.
So yeah, I think Rincewind in our heads is linked with the wizards. But I think there is a lot more, and I mean he's at the university in Mort.
Yes. He runs away in Sorcery, which is literally the next book, because he'd been around enough to be the librarian's assistant. But we already discussed that we weren't sure quite what the tiny difference is between Colour of Magic and Light Fantastic compared to Sorcery. But that could be some time.
Yeah, the point I'm saying is he's there with the faculty.
He's part of the university,
but he's not.
He's here with the faculty. He's the library assistant.
Yeah, but
no offence.
No, I'm an assistant library manager. Thank you very much. 3/5 of the assistant library manager. We're moving on. No, the point is, yes, we think that they're more linked, but actually, story wise,
it's only interesting times.
And even then, it's not really.
I think because I think we discussed in the Quadrant 1 episode that actually wizards appear in most of the books.
Yes, especially anything that's set in Ankh-Morpork.
Yeah, it was almost a bit like the university was the big bit of Ankh-Morpork, and then Ankh-Morpork has grown, so it's not just the university, but the university is still a big part of the civic life, and so you have the wizards kind of popping into more general Ankh-Morpork stuff, like obviously Moving Pictures was the first one where we have that version of the faculty, which then builds on. But again, it's
Hogfather,
absolutely. I sort of feel like Soul Music is its own thing, but it's also the Wizards pilot. But then both Reaper Man and Hogfather are like Death Major, Wizards Minor.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are kind of their own thing that threads through the books, and again, particularly the kind of Ankh-Morpork. And again, they obviously turn up in Lords and Ladies.
Yes.
Although very much as like guest stars, I feel.
But yes.
They're visiting. Yeah, so practice kind of, they've obviously been established separate to Rincewind. And then Rincewind's kind of pulled in later, but at first I think Rincewind was our wizard character, and now it's there's this whole batch. So that's kind of interesting. It's sort of not quite a sub-series, but if you say wizards, you would include the Rincewind ones and maybe some of the other ones that aren't in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because Soul Music isn't. It's
I don't think any of the books so far I would have said was certainly in the last Quadrant was a wizard book. Even Interesting Times, I know, they're there. And
it's a Rincewind.
But it's a Rincewind book. Yeah. And.
But I think people tend to kind of put Rincewind and Wizards together. But yeah, you're right, they're not actually together until Interesting Times. A book which made me feel much better about the faculty by introducing a yet worse group of horrible old men.
Yes. I think actually the one where you'd say it's definitely this is a wizard book. And I'm only going based on the one read I had done through because it's quite near the end. Unseen Academicals, but anyway, that we'll get to that.
I thought Last Continent had more of that from what I can vaguely remember.
But I think Last Continent is a bit more of a Rincewind.
No, because I know the Wizards are in because there's the whole evolution thing.
Yes, but I think. Okay, well, we're not
there yet.
No. We can have this discussion when we actually read both of them and can compare them.
Final thing I suppose I want to mention was maybe antagonists across the series.
Yeah.
Because we sort of discussed a little bit about, early on, it's the dungeon dimensions. The dungeon dimensions.
And I think that comes from...
And it's always the thing.
I think that comes from sort of classic fantasy and a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons.
It's not the Cthulhu type stuff.
I think as well, I think it's a bit of pulling from a lot of different threads.
Yeah.
But this
formless
idea of
things from beyond regular space that trying to break in. It had, but I mean, a huge amount of British horror, particularly at the time, was very Lovecraftian. Yeah. And then, as you said, there's some D&D stuff. There's, hence, I guess, Dungeon Dimensions. And that seems to be, certainly for the first sort of handful, up until, I think their last hurrah is basically Moving Pictures.
Yes.
And there's some gods that aren't great. I mean, the Death books are more about the situation, usually.
Yeah, I mean...
because the point is Death is the protagonist, or a protagonist. And sometimes he's antagonistic towards other characters, particularly Mort, I guess, but... It's more that there's a situation happening.
Yeah, but I think certainly the later...
But then that's the early ones, and then the Auditors.
Yeah, I mean, Hogfather and
no, but they're also in Reaper Man.
Yeah, I was just about... Just about to get that out.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 50 Time. Okay.
No. Hogfather, Reaper Man. It's the Auditors, and it is the situation that is the story, but it's the Auditors. That have instigated it.
Yeah, and then
but they're kind of they are the antagonists, but it's not. It's not Death going up against them so much.
I feel like Reaper Man kind of
Reaper Man. Towards the end it is,
and also you think at the end of Hogfather it's just that Death has to get Susan as a proxy. So I think it is that, because he's the one that understands what they're doing. Obviously the Watch books are very much like criminals and schemers and conspiracy.
Usually put someone else on the throne.
Well, no, we're past that trilogy now, but yes, that's what it's been so far.
Yeah, that's what it's been so far.
And then, I mean, sorcery, obviously there is dungeon dimension-y stuff, but the villain is kind of Ipsla the Red via coin.
Yeah.
And that's some have real standout antagonists that are really horrible.
Yes, very much.
Ipsla the Red, the Duchess from Weird Sisters,
absolutely horrible.
Dios from Pyramids, though I actually felt kind of bad for him at the end. That's a bit weird, more interesting than I thought.
That's the time loop thing is a bit of a question on exactly, is he forced to then just live out his existence in a time loop?
I think he should. I do like a time loop.
Yeah, I know you do like a time loop. Or is he giving?
I think it's also the fact that he's running that track so much that it's all he can do.
Yeah, but
I mean, it doesn't make him likable. Or
no.
The Witch books, it usually is a bit like, here's this powerful antagonist, but I suppose, so you've got the elves, which again is kind of like, they're kind of dungeon dimension, it's something from beyond, but it's like that parasite dimension thing. Yeah. The music in Soul Music, again, it's something from outside that's come in and it's causing like magical problems. I think Lily Weatherwax is complex.
Yes.
But is certainly the villain.
Very much so.
Well, Vorbis, who's one of the scariest villains.
Yes.
Which I think is why Soul Music could make such an, it's like, this how not to be, good lord. Whoa. And again, it sort of shows, again, the kind of decency of Brother.
You said Soul Music, not Small Gods.
Did I say Soul Music, not Small Gods?
You did.
Okay, oops. They all begins with S. There's a lot of S's in this list.
That's fair enough.
Small Gods, Vorbis. And I guess the other one is Tea Time in the Hogfather.
Yes.
Who I think is actually less scary than Vorbis.
I think he definitely is. I mean...
but he is the monster.
He's definitely the monster, and that's the whole point of him.
But he's not... There's similarities there. They're both kind of looking to get... But Vorbis isn't seen as a monster. He's the authority.
Yeah.
He's the church. And that idea of a church that's no longer connected to its God. And also being a horrendous tortured guy.
But Vorbis takes actions to kind of maintain his power, to kind of...
To increase his power, He planned that holy war before it...
The point is he's there, he's manipulating things for power. Tea Time is... He just likes to kill things. Well, and that's, it's kind of almost this...
It's different kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's funny how in Hogfather the bogeyman is the one that isn't the villain.
Yes. Well, I think
although fear is used as a
I think that's the point.
It's very well done.
You can actually get the whole point is people can be it can be even scarier than the monster in the dark.
Again, the discussion I was having with a friend the other day, we made the point that possibly one of the scariest villains in Star Trek TNG is in the most toys, and it's that collector guy.
Yeah.
Who's just an awful human.
Yeah.
This guy's just an awful, greedy man with a load of power, and that's bad, and also far too much of now.
Yes.
Moving on. That was kind of the main last kind of thematic thing I had. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to raise.
No, I think we're...
Just because we hadn't kind of gone through antagonists, but there's definitely theme. There's kind of the stuff from outside coming in, doing a thing, which I think is also referenced as kind of like, it's become more background radiation now, because certainly in that report there was a bit like, remember Mr. Hong and the free luck fish takeaway?
Yes.
And what happened at the Temple of the Old Fish God, and it's like, we don't know what that is, but it's clearly like, sometimes this stuff happens and that's like a problem.
Yeah.
But it's clearly... a sort of thing people worry about in universe, but then I think he does do some very good standout villains as people as villains, both individuals and groups.
I think as we go on...
because I suppose with Gaz there's also the dragon, isn't there?
Yeah.
But that's not a person, so...
I mean, it's not human, kind of being manipulated by... But I think later... I
think the point is, again, you've got these petty-minded group that think they can control something and can't, and then they lay it out of the box, and then it's like, well, it does all these horrible things, but it's a dragon, it will do.
I think as we go along, I think Pratchett is definitely looking at doing things more with actual showing how terrible actual people can be, rather than it being,
and not just like this one guy is terrible, or this. I mean, this one guy, or these one guys, and that one lady certainly are terrible.
But I think
and quite often it's people in positions of power. The Duchess, Lily Weatherwax, runs that city, even if it's behind the throne. Vorbis is, I mean, he's not the head of the church, but he's getting there, and he's the head of the Exquisition, and he obviously had the resources to plan,
I mean,
the whole thing.
I have read Jingo, the reread. That is basically how terrible a large group of people can be. I mean, it's not more nuance to it, but that's just people.
Yeah,
and I think as we go forward, I think he's going, well, actually,
with more and more railing.
Yeah, but also just going, well, perhaps I want to shine a light onto how things can be, how people can be terrible. Also, how people can be great. People can be, and I think again, Jingo is a great opportunity.
It gets more complex than it is. I also have heard somebody describe Monstrous Regiment as him going, I don't think people are listening properly for Jingo. So just to say it again.
I mean, I think you've got just a quick saying later on. I mean, yes, the perhaps in the Tiffany Aching stuff, there's a little bit more of the outside.
I mean, that is specifically young adult series, though, so I think that would take a slightly different approach.
But I mean, it's also...
And there is situational stuff. I mean, Last Hero is a bit like that, isn't it?
So I think he's definitely going, well, I've done the Gribblies from outside. I'm now going to... I can build on things and have villains and terrible people in my world because I've got a world now, rather than just a stitched together joke about fantasy books. And I think that's definitely where we are now. We definitely have a world that kind of stands on its own. We're going to get lots of the maps and I'm just checking, here we are. So the Streets of Ankh-Morpork is 1993.
Oh, okay.
So we've already started which would have been kind of midway through Quadrant 2. So we've already starting to get them, actually, having proper cartography of the world, because there's enough there. The
thing is, we're in the point where he's also incredibly prolific. Like, sometimes there's 2 or 3 books a year.
Yeah.
And when you consider he was also doing non-Discworld stuff. So, I forget, which year the Good Omens come out? I think it was like 5 books that year or something.
Yeah.
One was Eric, which was shorter for the words. But we're also getting to the point where you can see how Pratchett starts becoming the UK's best satirist, but just also in the medium of comic fantasy, which meant some people probably underestimated him or didn't kind of look properly because there's elves and dragons. We don't like that.
No. How can you tell a story about the world and satirise the world when you're just throwing the dwarves into things?
Yeah. I mean, I do remember when I was younger and reading Discworld books, and I was Terry Pratchett on things, I was a bit, and then I watched it, I was like, this is all about politics, which I wasn't really into at the time. I was like, he's not really talking about Discworld though, so no. Which I probably should have listened to thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure those, looking back now, those most certainly were quite interesting, which should be quite, his views on these things.
I mean, it's probably all on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
But you're a teenager and you don't know what's good for you.
That's fair enough. Do we want to have a quick look ahead at the next 10 just to say what
is there anything we're looking forward to?
So obviously, next one is Jingo. So we've got Last Continent.
Oh.
Carpe Juglium. The Fifth Elephant.
Yeah.
The Truth.
Yeah. Thief
of Time.
Cool.
The Last Hero.
Yeah.
The Amazing Maurice.
And Educated
Night Watch and We Free Men. See, I've got to say, I actually quite like how this breaks up when you do it in.
Yeah, I hadn't. Yeah, we were just going about the numbers.
You end on, the first quadrant ended on moving pictures, and I think that was
is where we said seems
an absolutely brilliant point to kind of to see the change.
It's like if you've been reading so far, it's going to reward you now.
Hogfather, I think, is a brilliant example of a story set in the world. You've got these little bits. There's
mythic stuff, there's mundane stuff,
but
it's got his whole range in because that's why Mark Burroughs cites it.
Yeah, he throws in the canting crew just as a little bit of a side thing. It's just a great little and then the next quadrant ends in We Free Men, which is his first YA novel. Introducing Tiffany. I think it's just, I think it just splits up really nicely.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought that. Also, I feel like this is the point, it was some point around this when I started getting the books as they came out.
Yeah.
I seem to remember, when I was in sixth form, I remember there was a poster for Night Watch on the wall in the English department.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I love The Fifth Elephant. I like Carpe Jugulum. I already said I don't remember Last Continent terribly well, but I guess we'll get that soon. The Truth is good. A Thief of Time is really good. I get Last Hero, I think I only read the one time. Weirdly, The Amazing Morrison's Educated Rodents, again, that's something you think I would have absolutely glommed onto. Yes. But I think when I read it, I was like, oh, this is fine. I never reread it. But I think there is more to it. So I think I'll probably find more in that than perhaps at the time. Also, I mean, it occurs to me, for various of these points, I guess I was taking exams and things. Sometimes I was probably reading things with a bit less attention and I was a bit more stressed about stuff.
I mean, looking at the list, I know that these are books we're coming to where I've only read them once. Some of them I've read loads. Some of them I've read once because of the nature of, at this point I was buying them as they was coming out for a lot of them. But that meant I only
you've been
read
doing that longer than me.
But it meant I only read them once unless I really went back to them.
Yeah.
So Thief of Time I've read loads.
Yeah.
Same with We Free Men I've read quite a couple of times. And
I think a lot of the Tiffany Aching ones I've only read like once or twice.
Later ones I've read, but I've read that, but I've also
That's the thing. I think Final Quadrant is a lot of stuff where I was at university and I was busy and I kind of dropped out for some years. Yeah. So I know there's stuff there I've definitely read once because some of it I've only read in the last kind of like 5 years or so.
But a lot of it I've only read once, and I'm really looking forward to going back to some of it.
But I know Fifth Elephant I read loads and loads.
Yeah, but Carpe Diem, Fifth Elephant.
I think Jingo fair bit.
The Truth. Obviously, I've just read Jingo. Night Watch. I know people rave about Night Watch, and obviously
I've definitely read that one a few times.
That's the one that's got
that's the Penguin Classic.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's Penguin.
I'm really interested to go back to that one. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, I'd seen someone's wrote on the internet. The stuff in Thief of Time and Night Watch was supposed to be one book. No, it was you that told me. Someone had told me.
Yes, I saw it on the internet and I said that to you.
You did. And I'm citing my source. Because I'd forgotten.
Why are you trying to take my second-hand anecdote, which I can't remember who said it?
Okay, well, yes. So Kathy told me, but and I'll be interested to see how that kind of pans out within the, storytelling.
Yeah. I was going to say some stuff, but we're not there yet, and I feel like we'll save it from we are.
I'm just, I was just kind of so. I think there's lots of to look forward to there. Yeah, to get into.
I think that's like a peak time for me reading Pratchett stuff. Whereas I think later I trailed off for a while around or after university.
Some great stuff coming up. Mm-hmm. Some great stuff we have had, and
yes. And we're halfway through.
Yes.
So we're just doing this for, I guess, however much again, unless we do more special episodes. Which
we have to do the Hogfather TV show at Christmas.
Yes, let's do a Hogfather thing in winter, not summer.
So that's
the numbers didn't work for that.
It was just badly timed on that.
So we might have other episodes.
At some point, we will need to cover the short stories. That's.
Oh, are we doing that? Okay.
Well, yeah, but
we haven't discussed it. But
but they're Discord stories. Yeah, so okay. But
I've read some of those. There's also, I guess, if there's some of the other TV stuff as well. It's mostly going postal.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that until at least we've read the books.
So. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's the thing. It's sort of like Moist is such a big part of it. It's like he's so late.
Yeah, but book 33. It's a quite and for those listening, if you might have seen in the works, had done a sort of starter pack box of books for Discworld, and Going Postal was in there.
Yeah,
and
which I think makes more sense than Night Watch as a starting point. But yes,
it was a bit of a it's like. Ones that were obvious, Equal Rights and Mort and Colour of Magic, and then Going Postal, which is like
30 books in.
Yeah, that which I'm sure somebody has started.
It does kind of make sense, and then you're going to something that's already quite established, and you're like, oh, I like all this. You can see where all those people came from.
But
so yeah.
I think we should wrap it up there. Mm-hmm. So thank you all very much for listening to the 20 plus episodes that we've done so far.
And if you haven't listened to all of them, go back and pick some for books you like.
Yes, we will. We hope you will continue joining us on this journey through the Discworld books. And if you do have any feedback, any suggestions, any comments.
You either agree or disagree with the stuff we've said, please, but nicely.
Yeah, we are not. We are not experts. We are just fans. So if we've missed something, especially opera, please.
I don't think it comes up again.
Thankfully, no.
But something else we don't know about. Very possibly
absolutely will. Yes. So please do get in touch. Our contact details are in all the show notes. You can find us on Facebook at Dining Table Discworld,
BlueSky at dtdiscworld.
At dtdiscworld as well. So please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. So, as we said before, the next one will be Jingo. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Dining Table Discworld.
You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Dining Table Discworld. You can also find us on BlueSky at dtdiscworld. All our other contact information and credits for our music can be found in our show notes. Thank you for listening again, and we'll see you in our next episode.